Hey folks, today we're going to take a look at a game that is currently seeking funding on Kickstarter. That game is called Devil's Chess, and it's from Something Good Games. Now, if you like what you see throughout the rest of this preview video, I'm going to encourage you to go to the official Kickstarter project page to find out more information than I could possibly tell you here. To do that, you're going to follow the link in the top corner of your screen or down in the description section underneath this video. Go there, find out more info, and hopefully consider backing the project. Now, Devil's Chess is what you might call a variant of chess, but that's not really doing it justice. While it is true that you need a chess set and you are going to be doing a lot of the traditional chess rules for the core gameplay of this, the way that the ways that the different cards in Devil's Chess influence the game are dramatic and important. So it really does feel like you're playing like a whole other type of chess, like to the next level, if I might use that phrase. There are special rules cards that will permanently affect the rules of the game, at least until something else comes along and either adds on to or replaces that rule. You could have up to 5 in play at one time, so it can get pretty chaotic. But then there are also chaos cards, which are like another level of chaos, like a huge amount of chaos added to the game. And there's just other playable cards that you'll be playing turn by turn to influence how your pieces move, to influence how your opponent's pieces move, to protect yourself, to hinder your opponent, to change the win conditions of the game. So there is quite a bit going on, but let me go ahead and give you a brief look at how the game is played with a prototype copy of the game. Actually, the chess set that you're going to see here is just sort of a generic chess set that we're using for this preview. The cards might change, which are actually the core part of the game. They might change over time, and they might change before the final release. So just bear in mind, that's why you need to go to the Kickstarter page to find out more information. But then in any event, we will come back and discuss it further. Devil's Chess is a competitive game for 2 players. It is a fully fleshed out variant of the classic game of chess. At the beginning of the game, a new rule will be drawn which will affect the way that you play. But you and your opponent will also be playing other cards to attack each other or give your pieces special abilities or to change or add to the current special rules. You'll still need to move your pieces just like chess most of the time, and you can still win by getting your opponent in checkmate, but there are several other ways to win the game as well. The first thing you need for Devil's Chess is a standard chess set, which you'll set up per standard chess rules as shown. I won't go over all of the details of chess, but just in case you have never played before, each player has an identical set of pieces with each set in a different color. Players will alternate taking turns moving one piece at a time, but every piece has its own rules for how they move. You'll be trying to take your opponent's pieces by landing in their square with your own, but ultimately what you want to do is get your opponent's king in check, which means a position where their king will be taken on the next turn. You win by checkmating their king, or officially taking it off the board. Adding Devil's Chess to the mix is simple. Shuffle the deck of playable cards and place them on one side of the board with space for a discard pile. Shuffle the deck of rule cards and place them on the other side with room to lay out 1 to 5 cards. Flip over the top rule card and read it so that both players understand it. Rules cards have dramatic effects that are permanent until either the game ends or another card negates it. There are rules that make your piece move in weird ways or even explode, rules that swap the powers of pieces, and even rules that can alter the win conditions of the game. More rules can come into play later, and they stack and take effect all at once unless they say otherwise. Next for the setup, each player draws 3 cards from the playable card deck. These are action cards that can usually only be played optionally at the start of your turn, but sometimes must be played immediately when drawn, or when attacked by an opponent, or at any time. Playable cards have instant but temporary effects, like giving a piece special movement, swapping the positions of pieces, or protecting or undoing negative harmful effects to you. They can also introduce more rules, primarily through the Devil's Chess playable card, which will bring in a new card and let you draw a new card from the deck to replace it. Finally, decide whether you'll be doing an easy game or a chaotic game, or something in between. If it's your first time, you should use the Easy Mode card, which makes it so that rules replace each other, such that only one can ever be in play at a time. If you're more experienced, you should use one or more of the Chaos cards, which will be mixed into the playable cards, are always played immediately when drawn, and have extremely game-breaking effects, like killing all pawns, or resurrecting all pawns, or even making it so that you and your opponent switch sides. Now you're ready to begin. White goes first, and the first thing you do is draw a card if you don't already have 3. Then you can either use or discard a card to make room for a new card you'll draw next turn. Finally, you'll move a chess piece, taking into account any new rules, and some playable cards that you play actually have moving the piece as part of its ability. Your turn will end as soon as you finish moving a piece, and then the other player will take their turn in the exact same way. The game will end with either a traditional chess checkmate, a victory based on one of the new rules introduced to the game, or a victory for the player who draws the last card from the deck. It's also possible for the game to end prematurely if one player's king is killed by an explosion or something like that, or by being pushed off the board. This will also end the game. Keep going until one of the conditions is met, and that is Devil's Chess. Well, Devil's Chess is very interesting, and in the interest of full disclosure, I've only played chess a few times in my life and always lost, and it was never particularly interesting to me. But part of why it was not interesting to me was because it's just a very dry game. There's just not a lot going on in it. It's very A to B to C, and I'm not denigrating people who do play it a lot and are very good at it, because obviously the people who are really good at this game are super, hyper, mega strategic geniuses. And that's definitely not me. But so when something like Devil's Chess comes along and adds all of that flavor that was never in the original game, and it's part of the reason why I, and I'm sure a lot of other people were turned off by it, you want to take notice of that, because it's definitely, you have to remember, it is the core chess gameplay, and that hasn't changed. So you need to be aware of those things. If you're very good at chess, you can still be very good at Devil's Chess, because you have to know, it's not just enough to know what all the pieces do and what the core rules of chess are. It's outthinking your opponent, moving strategically, taking advantage of your knowledge and trying to outthink and think ahead and plan ahead, dozens of turns, that type of thing. That's all still here, but now you also have to worry about these new rules that will be affecting the game. And because they'll be coming out potentially, if you draw the actual Devil's Chess cards throughout the game, because of that, things are constantly in flux, and you could be, you could have your opponent back on their heels on one turn, and then the next turn everything changes dramatically. If you use the Chaos cards, it's even more so. There's literally a card that says you have to flip spaces, or flip places, and suddenly you're on the losing side. So you have to take these things into account turn by turn. But even if you don't play with the Chaos cards, and even if you just have one rule at a time with the easy mode, it's adapting to that. It's taking advantage of how the board is at any given time when one of these new rules comes out, and with those playable cards, holding on to ones that will be useful at a later point. This all goes back to typical chess thing of planning out many moves ahead. You don't have to dump cards or play cards right away unless it says play immediately, so you can hold something strategically if you really want to. So knowing when to play a card, knowing when to discard a card that you don't really think you're going to need anymore, those are important decisions you need to make above and beyond what's actually going on out on the board with you moving those pieces. So for someone who is really into chess, but maybe you're the person who's in the chess and you've played thousands of games of it with people, and you're just ready for something different, or maybe you just really want to test yourself, because I can easily see this being used by someone who's trying to practice to get better at chess and needs to be able to anticipate different situations coming up, because even in a normal game of chess, you might not anticipate some bold strategy that your opponent has, so you need to be able to not get shaken and still maintain your strategy and keep going. So if you want something different, if you know someone in your life, your friends or family, or someone, you have a regular chess partner who you just want to add something spicy to the mix to mix things up, hey, you don't have to take my word for it. You can go to the official Kickstarter project page and find out more information than I could possibly tell you here. You can do that by following the link in the top corner of your screen or down in the description section underneath this video. That is Devil's Chess from Something Good Games. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, for supporting our sponsors. Take care. Stay safe.